7 years ago, what should have been a beautiful family trip turned into a nightmare for a mother while on a cruise ship. Her daughter and husband suddenly vanished without a trace, yet one determined woman's refusal to surrender hope would lead her across oceans to a neon-lit alley in Amsterdam, where a single glance at a window would reunite a shattered family and expose a hidden trafficking nightmare. Catherine Wilson sat motionless in her Orlando living room as Detective Holloway delivered the devastating update that after 7 long years, the active search for her missing husband Daniel and 18-year-old daughter Claire was being scaled back due to lack of new leads. Yet the fire of a mother's love refused to be extinguished even as official hope faded. This moment echoed the true historical resilience of the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo in Argentina, who for decades marched silently in white headscarves demanding answers about their children disappeared during the 1976 to 1983 dirty war military dictatorship. Their persistent protests ultimately exposing over 30,000 cases of state-sponsored abductions and forced disappearances, while inspiring global human rights movements. Just as those Argentine mothers transformed personal grief into collective action against tyranny, Catherine's quiet persistence through endless posters, online campaigns, and international calls kept her family's faces alive in public memory, proving that ordinary love can challenge systemic indifference. Philosophically, this chapter draws from Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, forged in Nazi concentration camps, teaching that meaning can be found even in unimaginable suffering by choosing one's attitude and purpose. Catherine embodied this by refusing to let bureaucratic resignation define her reality, instead channeling anguish into relentless action. In today's world, where the United Nations estimates 50 million people live in modern slavery, including trafficking, her story holds urgent modern relevance, teaching English learners advanced emotional vocabulary such as unyielding, never giving way, steadfast and determined, and the idiom clinging to a thread, holding on to something fragile with desperate hope. To powerfully describe resilience in personal narratives or advocacy writing. Vividly, Catherine's hands trembled as she clutched the thick case folder, her once bright eyes now etched with premature lines from sleepless nights, staring at family photos that captured happier times on the cruise ship deck, their smiles frozen in time like painful ghosts. Emotionally, her arc began in raw devastation, the primal scream in her car after the detective left, fists pounding the steering wheel as years of suppressed grief erupted, yet evolved into steely determination as she printed fresh missing person posters, each one a silent vow never to abandon her loved ones. Universal wisdom from Stoic philosophy, particularly Epictetus's reminder that we cannot control events but only our responses, empowered her to focus on what she could do: search, persist, believe. For English learners, this section models complex sentence structures with subordinate clauses. Although the detective's tone was gentle, Catherine recognized the finality beneath his words and sensory details, the relentless ticking of the mantle clock mirroring the endless passage of empty years, to enhance descriptive storytelling and empathetic communication. The profound lesson is that hope is not passive wishing but an active force that refuses silence in the face of loss. What seemingly impossible search or injustice in your own life deserves the same unyielding persistence that Catherine showed, turning personal pain into a beacon that might one day guide others home. 7 years after the nightmare began on a sun-drenched Caribbean cruise stop in Curaçao, Catherine's world shattered again when a European woman's phone call claimed to have spotted Claire in an Amsterdam bar, igniting a desperate transatlantic journey that tested every limit of maternal love and led her through the neon shadows of the red light district to a heart-stopping window where her daughter's face appeared behind glass. This pivotal phone call paralleled historical moments of breakthrough in long cold cases, such as the persistent advocacy of the disappeared families in Chile under Pinochet's regime, whose decades-long search using smuggled photos and international pressure eventually brought some closure and accountability after the 1990 return to democracy. Catherine's emotional development surged from cautious skepticism, memories of past scams like the Hawaii robbery flashing through her mind, to overwhelming hope as she booked a flight within hours, her hands shaking while packing a small suitcase with little thought beyond reunion. Philosophically, the journey invoked Plato's allegory of the cave, where Catherine emerged from the shadows of official doubt into the painful light of possible truth, choosing to act despite warnings from Detective Holloway about jurisdictional complexities and emotional risk. In modern relevance, amid rising global awareness of human trafficking fueled by organizations like Polaris and Interpol's databases, her story underscores how civilian tips can revive cold cases, teaching English learners idioms like wild goose chase, a futile or hopeless pursuit, and advanced terms such as bureaucratic labyrinth, a complicated, confusing system of rules, to articulate frustration and determination in discussions of justice and international cooperation. Vividly, the 9-hour flight blurred into restless dreams of reunion and disappointment, her heart racing upon landing as she scanned the arrivals hall for Sophia Van Dyke, the kind-eyed expat whose sincere voice had pierced 7 years of silence. Their first meeting in the parking basement overflowed with empathy. Sophia, a fellow mother who understood separation's pain from her own temporary family struggles during expat work in Orlando, offering unwavering support as they drove through Amsterdam's glittering streets. Emotional layers deepened as Catherine knocked frantically on the bar window, her voice cracking with Claire, its mom, only to face the security guard's cold dismissal, yet refusing to retreat. Universal wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita's call to fulfill one's dharma, sacred duty, without attachment to outcomes guided her through the red light district's unsettling neon glow and isolated alleys, where danger lurked but purpose propelled her forward. For English practice, this chapter provides rich material for practicing reported speech. Sophia explained that she had seen the posters countless times, and tension-building descriptive passages that improve narrative fluency and emotional intelligence. The reflective message is that crossing oceans, literal or metaphorical, for those we love demands courage that redefines what is possible. Have you ever taken a leap of faith driven by love, even when logic and others urged caution, and discovered strength you never knew you possessed? In the pulsating heart of Amsterdam's red light district, Catherine's desperate knocks on a brothel window led to a chaotic confrontation with security and police, culminating in the emotional reunion with her drugged and traumatized daughter Claire, now forced to use the street named Tracy, whose harrowing 7-year ordeal of abduction, torture, and exploitation on Curaçao was finally laid bare, exposing a ruthless trafficking network while beginning the long road to healing and justice. This reunion echoed true historical liberations such as the 1945 Allied Forces discovery and rescue of survivors from Nazi concentration camps, where emaciated prisoners were freed after years of unimaginable suffering, prompting global trials for crimes against humanity and the establishment of human rights frameworks like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. Catherine's emotional arc reached its peak in the clinic waiting room, tears streaming as Claire, dazed, pupils wide from substances, body bearing faint bruises, whispered, "Mom, is that you?" and collapsed into her arms, 7 years of agony dissolving into a tight embrace that words could never fully capture. Philosophically, this moment embodied Kant's imperative to treat every human being as an end in themselves, not a means, condemning the trafficker's objectification of Claire while celebrating Catherine's refusal to let her daughter remain a commodity. Modern relevance connects powerfully to today's survivor-centered anti-trafficking movements, including organizations providing trauma-informed care and legal support, reminding us that recovery is possible even after profound violation, while teaching English learners vocabulary like harrowing, extremely distressing, causing great suffering, and the idiom lay bare, reveal something hidden or private, to discuss difficult social issues with sensitivity and precision. Vivid character moments included Claire's slurred, vacant recounting of the Curaçao abduction, Daniel fighting 6 men only to be overpowered, tortured, and killed while protecting her, her voice breaking as she described being drugged, sold repeatedly, and controlled for years, the pain in Catherine's eyes mirroring every word. Universal wisdom from Buddhist teachings on compassion and impermanence helped Catherine hold space for her daughter's trauma without being consumed by rage, focusing instead on presence and the possibility of renewal. For English education, the scene models dialogue under emotional stress, passive voice for official procedures, DNA samples were carefully collected, and reflective sentences that build empathy and advanced communication skills. This chapter teaches that even the darkest nights end when love refuses to surrender, and that healing begins the moment truth is spoken aloud. What buried pain or family secret in your life might need the courage of confrontation and compassionate listening to finally begin its journey toward light and restoration? As mother and daughter navigated the Amsterdam police station's interview room and medical evaluations, Claire's detailed testimony about her abduction on Curaçao, her father Daniel's heroic but fatal resistance, and 7 years of exploitation within a Russian-linked trafficking ring provided crucial evidence that led to arrests and broader investigations. While Catherine's unwavering support marked the beginning of a profound healing journey filled with tears, therapy, and renewed purpose. This breakthrough paralleled real historical accountability efforts like the Nuremberg trials after World War II, where survivor testimonies exposed systemic atrocities and established precedents for prosecuting crimes against humanity, ensuring that voices long silenced could demand justice. Catherine's emotional development shifted from overwhelming relief at the reunion to fierce protectiveness as she learned the full horror, Claire being beaten into submission, forced into modeling then dancing, repeatedly sold, and kept compliant through drugs, yet she channeled grief into strength, holding her daughter's hand through every statement and medical check. Philosophically, the chapter reflected stoic acceptance of what cannot be changed, the lost years, combined with determined action toward what can, recovery and justice, teaching that true resilience arises from focusing energy on the present and future rather than being paralyzed by the past. In contemporary society, where survivor advocacy groups emphasize long-term rehabilitation, counseling, and legal reform to combat trafficking, Catherine and Claire's story inspires hope that broken lives can be rebuilt, while for English learners it offers models of reported speech. Claire recounted that they had overpowered her father, conditional structures for discussing possibilities. If we had never gone on that cruise, and empathetic vocabulary like trauma-informed care, support, that recognizes the impact of past suffering to engage thoughtfully with sensitive topics. Vivid moments included Claire's trembling voice describing waking surrounded by other frightened women, the DNA confirmation sealing their bond, and Catherine's quiet vow never to let go again as they left the station under police escort. Universal wisdom from Nelson Mandela's long imprisonment and subsequent emphasis on forgiveness, paired with accountability, guided their path forward, pursuing justice against the network while prioritizing Claire's healing. English practice here strengthens skills in summarizing trauma narratives with sensitivity, debating ethical responsibilities in international cases, and writing reflective pieces that blend personal emotion with broader social insight. This chapter affirms that love, when paired with courage and systems of support, can reclaim lives stolen by darkness. Will you choose to stand beside someone in their darkest hour with the same patient, unshakable love that Catherine showed her daughter, knowing that your presence alone may be the beginning of their restoration? With Claire safely in protective care and the trafficking network beginning to unravel through international cooperation, Catherine and her daughter embarked on the long, inspiring path of recovery. Therapy sessions, gradual reintegration, and renewed family bonds, proving that even after 7 years of unimaginable loss, hope, persistence, and human connection can rebuild what cruelty tried to destroy forever. This healing phase mirrored post-liberation efforts for survivors of the Holocaust or the comfort women of World War II, where decades of advocacy, counseling, and legal recognition helped many reclaim dignity and voice despite profound trauma. Catherine's emotional growth culminated in quiet strength as she supported Claire through detox, nightmares, and identity reclamation, their shared tears in hotel rooms transforming into tentative smiles and plans for the future. Philosophically, it embodied the Japanese concept of kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with gold to highlight scars rather than hide them, celebrating that wounds, when tended with love, become sources of beauty and wisdom. Modern relevance resonates with global survivor empowerment programs that emphasize holistic recovery, including mental health support, education, and community, teaching English learners reflective language such as profound sense of renewal and the idiom, turning the page, beginning a new chapter after difficulty, to express transformation and hope in personal essays or motivational speaking. Vivid character moments included Claire's first clear-eyed recognition of her mother, without substances clouding her gaze, their late-night conversations piecing together the lost years, and Catherine's promise to help other missing families through advocacy. Universal wisdom from the teachings of Rumi, that the wound is the place where the light enters you, guided them to view scars not as permanent defeat but as gateways to deeper compassion and purpose. For English education, the resolution encourages creative retellings, analysis of character arcs, and vocabulary building around resilience, unbreakable spirit, cautious optimism, while fostering discussions on forgiveness, justice, and second chances. This final chapter celebrates that no night is so dark that dawn cannot follow when love refuses to surrender. What broken piece of your own life are you ready to repair with gold, through patience, courage, and connection, so that its scars become the most beautiful part of your store?